And there's a movie that came out called Miss Juneteenth. Now, full disclosure, I have a friend. Let's see. I think that person's name is Katia Woods, and she'll call me up and say, "Reggie, have you seen this movie yet?" And I had not seen it because Katia went someplace to some festival or whatever, and she saw it before me. And she said, "You're going to like this movie." So Katia introduced this movie, Miss Juneteenth.
Shannon Godfrey Peoples directed this, what I call a love letter to mothers and daughters in small towns. And it's about a young woman who was Miss Juneteenth. And Channing is from Texas. She is from a small town, and they have a pageant. And with that pageant, I believe you win a scholarship to go to college. And this young woman, Tempest, was, she was smart. She had everything going for herself. Beauty queen. She goes to college, and she gets pregnant by her high school boyfriend. And this changes her life. She comes back to the town. She had to leave college, and she now is a single mother struggling, bartending, and she does makeup at a mortician at a funeral home. And it's just, this is not the life she dreamt of. However, she's determined to give her daughter the opportunities, or to make sure her daughter takes advantage of the opportunities that she didn't take advantage of. So throughout this movie, you see a complex, and also she has a complex relationship with her mother. You have the Black church, you have trauma that's passed on from generation to generation, and you have a daughter who is screaming to say, "I understand, but don't punish me for your mistakes. Don't punish me for someone else. Allow me the chance to live my life. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to end up pregnant and whatnot." And we're not even going to talk about the father, who is just, it's also what I liked about this film was the relationship between the mother and the father. They love each other, but they have no business being together.
So
Because
I
he
want to
got
speak.
what he needs.
I want to speak to this. And so I hate, as a father, I hate it when we're showing men not taking care of their business. I'm like, here we go again. And I think that you actually put it beautifully, is that they do love each other, and it's very, very evident. They just are not right for each other. And what they did in this film for me is that they made him not a bad guy, but the bad guy in the relationship. So they gave him dimension and agency. You could see how he loved his daughter. You could see how he was really trying to get a piece of his own, just like she was trying to get a piece of her own, to show the mother, excuse me, to show that she could do something, that she could accomplish something. He was trying to do that too. It was just that he didn't have all the stuff going, and he was a little trifling. So,
He was
but
selfish. He was selfish. He
he
did not. I think this is why I'm glad you said that. I said, when I spoke to Nicole Bahari about this, I said, they are codependent. They're both the problem. She knows. He has, what did Maya Angelou say? When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. He has shown her multiple times that he's not dependable when it comes to certain things, right? And yet she's still kind of like is hanging on for what if, which now you are an active participant in the dysfunction, because this person, it's like when you invite a
no, no,
thief into
there's
your
no
house
doubt,
and you're
no doubt.
surprised that they stole from you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they do, but you let them in. And I feel like there is a turn in the film, and she does this so beautifully. It's not words, and you can elaborate here, where he is talking to her, after the whole dress situation. He's talking to her, and she just looks up and she looks at him, and it finally starts clicking for her, right? It's like she sees him for the first time, not the guy that she's in love with, not the high school guy, not the guy that that makes her feel other things. She sees him, all of him.
It's so,
And then she does, and you know what? Because she's not arguing with him, she kind of puts her hands on his chest. Is kind of like, and you're like in the audience, right? When you're watching, you're like, yes, it's about time.
so I actually saw that a little bit differently though. I saw her seeing herself. I think that at that point in time, she actually saw that she was not doing right by her, that she wasn't doing right by her daughter, that that she put herself and her daughter first, which she was not doing before. Is that she was like, man, I dig this dude. I really, really dig this dude, but I can't. But let's get into the title a little bit. Is that the title is Miss Juneteenth. So people might think when you watch this film that this is a film that's talking about Juneteenth. It is, but it isn't. It really is the story, the trial and tribulation of a mother trying to figure out how to get through life's challenges. And they do it so effortlessly by the incorporation of the Juneteenth pageant. And with the Juneteenth pageant, yes, you learn about what Juneteenth is and all that. But again, we had just talked about this with Luca. This is not a preachy film. This is not a film that's preachy like Juneteenth happened on this day. You get that.
It's also a celebration of a Black town. But we forgot to talk about something very important. You and I have had this discussion about us not seeing Black people depicted in the South celebrating Black cowboys, rodeos, all that culture. And we get it.
We get it
all of that in there. And it's not like you said, it's not a historic, it's just a part of their lives. Because the other part, especially with all this stuff going on with the Tulsa massacre, we don't talk enough about small Black towns where people are close, where there's communion, there's community, where, you know, like that bar, like she talked about Channing, and is a real bar where everybody knows each other. No, you can't get no martini, and that's okay. You get a cold beer and a shot and some good barbecue and music on the jukebox. That's what it is.
So this is so interesting.
It's really great.
I love this is because some people might not like this movie. And let me tell you why I think some people might not like this movie. Because this is a no frills movie. There's no explosions. There's not even explosions in the relationship per se. There's one little time where there's a little argument or whatever, but there is just life. This is a real story. And I'm gonna tell you, while it's about a small town, which I love, they had two Texans in this. The father is from Texas and the young daughter is from Texas. So they get the dialect right. I mean, they get all that hole in the ground, that juke joint that you go to. However, it can also be transposed to any Black city in this country, to Chicago, Houston. You could see
that you probably have a bar like that in your neighborhood where you walk in, they know your name, they know what kind of drink you like. They're probably playing a certain type of music. You're not coming in there playing whatever these young kids are today, no Travis Scott or whatever. You've got the TV on the sports channel, Chicago teams, of course. And it's just the familiarity, and it's again, nothing wrong with the fancy drinks. I like my fruity drinks,
right.
But it's nice to go to a bar where everything is simple and it is for the neighborhood, and you kind of like it's an extension almost like of barbershop culture.
So I got to get into two more things about this. One is that I know you're going to speak about this a little bit, but one about the mother-daughter relationship is that I could not stand that girl. I could not stand that girl. I could not stand that girl. And because she was the daughter, because she was disrespectful and disobedient. But what I liked about the story is it's true. Mothers can speak to this. When you get that girl at 13, 14, 15, she is like, and she's rearing up against her mother. So while I didn't like the depiction, I like the depiction because it is so true. And I think that what Channing did in this is that she took all these real true things where you're watching this and you can feel it. But what I really, really liked about this is that the mother and daughter loved each other. You could really see that they loved each other, even though they had these conflicts, even though they had problems. Sometimes the way they looked at each other, I had a little tear in my eye
Oh, for
because
sure. This
because
is
I was like,
all about love.
I
And
was like, oh,
yes,
I love that. And then the last thing I want to say, and I'll let you with the last words, is that Juneteenth is about freedom. It was about this proclamation that told people that now you are free. And I think the connection here is that the mother was binding her daughter, that she was constraining her daughter's freedom by trying to mold her into the way in which she wanted her to do. And what this movie reminds me is that freedom isn't free. Is that but but what, and so no proclamation can really prepare you for these challenges of life, but love can really help you meet those challenges head on. And I think that Channing did such a great job of showing us that. Katya.
I think the other message that I got, because I've gone through that with my own mother, and my mother is a good woman. You cannot put certain expectations on your daughter. It's not your children's job to fulfill your unfulfilled dreams. That's your thing. You can't make, and I felt like part of the reason probably why I felt a little bit different looking at the daughter is because the mother never asked her until later what she wanted. She just assumed, or she presumed, that her daughter would do what she was supposed to do, but didn't get a chance to do. And I think that's why you had some of the rebellions. And I think too often as parents, not everybody, push, as we see that with sports, the dad couldn't play college football or basketball. So now the son is going to do it for him. We got to ask ourselves sometimes when we are doing these things for our kids, is it even something our kids want, or is this just us projecting our need onto our kids? I think it's very important to pay attention to your kid's body language and certain things, right? If your kid don't look happy out there in the basketball court, let your kid do something else. Maybe they want to play lacrosse. That's okay. You know what I mean? And I think the she's going through the whole pageant, right? She's not having a good time, and I'm like, Tempest, are you paying attention, or are you more caught on on what is and also this again projecting fear? Just because you did X, Y, and Z doesn't mean that she will.
You're right. I mean, you're right. But there's this thing that there's this balance of being a parent who is protecting your kids from some of the same pitfalls to pushing your kid into something that you want to do. And what teenage girls, I had teenage girls, what they tend to do is that they tend to think that their ancestors don't know nothing. That they try to be so free that they don't appreciate the lessons of your ancestors, like good grades, like watching out for the slick little boy. These are things that are, even though mama is being protective, there's still some foundational things that mama is trying to say that, come on now, come on.
I just feel like if there's a lot of things that you can see in your own life in there. And I'm a big component of, you got to open the conversation, because at some point you're not going to be able to put her on timeout and punish her anymore, right? So you got to leave the door open for communication and for that kid to feel comfortable to come to you. You know what I mean? And again, I totally understood where Tempest was coming from, but I'm like, you're kind of doing to her what your mama did to you, and you didn't like it. So again, it's what Channing did, exactly what you said, is she was so smart. She, without saying it, showed you A to B to C. And if you don't stop and fix it, it's going to go on to D. And mind you, Channing was not a mom when she was pregnant when she made this film. She didn't have her daughter and ends up having a daughter after this. So again, I do think that the ancestors, her maternal instincts came in. And I also believe that if a man directed this film, it would not have had the same soft touches that she put onto it. She could
Nah.
have easily just written this and given it to someone else, but I'm glad she held on to it. And I cannot wait for her to tell more stories. And she's supposed to be doing a series about this. So I'm really interested in meeting some of the other people in that town. I love that bar scene. And then you saw the barbecue. Now, mind you, Sundance, the food situation is dire. So I was sitting in that movie theater going like, some barbecue would be really great right about now.
I don't want to give the end, but I will say that at the end where the daughter is eating a piece of barbecue, she eating that piece of barbecue like it's the last thing in life, boy. She killing it. So it's a watch it for me, and obviously it's a watch it for you.
Grab your daughters if you have daughters like Reggie and I do, and watch this film, or with your mom. You know what I mean? And it's give it the love that this movie deserves. And because unfortunately it got lost in the pandemic a little bit.
So here's my thing for you guys who are watching. I appreciate you guys watching as well. Is that this is during the time of Juneteenth, and the Juneteenth holiday has just been approved. So this is so appropriate for you to give some love to this movie. Please go out and check out Miss Juneteenth, and they can check it out. Where can they check this one out?
They can go to the theaters. There is, if you go to
All right.
Miss Juneteenth, right? There is a flyer that lists all the cities that are being re-released, including Chicago and Philadelphia, obviously New York and Los Angeles. And also, if you are not comfortable going to a theater, you can rent it or buy it on Apple. I was about to say Apple Music, but iTunes. So you can do it there, and I believe it's not that expensive. It's like $12.99. So
and please do it. I'm just telling you, support Black movies, support this movie. It is a really, really good movie.